What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to more Black Desert. So today I had a special video for you guys. 7 things I've learned in BDO over the 7 years this game has been out, at least on the NA and EU servers, that is. So hopefully you guys can understand some of these as well. Maybe you can relate, who knows. But in no particular order of importance, I just thought of 7 things that I wanted to talk about. I actually have a lot more things than 7, but just for the sake of the theme of this video and not making the video like 7 hours instead. Number 1, we have this game is a marathon, not a sprint. And what I mean by that is, if you've ever played the other MMOs, like, I don't know, Final Fantasy, World of Warcraft, Elder Scrolls, and all this stuff, the game for them is getting to max level, doing the end game raids, dungeons, and everything, getting the best gear, and then playing again during the next expansion. This one is finding something you enjoy doing and just keep repeating it, getting better at it, progressing your gear, and ultimately, every time they come out with a new region, which is the equivalent of an expansion in other games, your gear isn't irrelevant. You push to get better gear, of course, but it doesn't mean your gear gets outdated. So that's really one thing I really look into when I try to look into new MMOs and everything. So that's one thing I really enjoy about this game, and just not having completely worthless gear 1 year later. And yeah, that's one thing you should think of if you are planning on trying this game. It's a slow progression game, that's for sure, but everything you earned feels like it matters and you've earned it. Next thing we have is playing at your own pace. Now, one thing I started this game on with the intention of doing is competing with my friends. Now, I remember starting this game 7 years ago, and we were like competing who can get the best gear in the best amount of time. And, you know, we were pretty decent grinding, and we had the same amount of gear. But then all it takes is one person to actually just get lucky, hit an enhance that takes a long time to get, or someone just grinds the extra 10 hours while the other person's like working or something. And then suddenly you are far below. And nowadays, I would say it's not as bad because like the catch-up mechanics, if you are a new player compared to like a veteran player, is not actually that bad. So I think with the whole seasonal things and the amount of rewards they give us just by logging in and playing the game normally, it's very easy to catch up. And plus, you don't need to have the best gear to be able to like PvP against some of the top tier players. You might have to do a little bit more and like play better. But ultimately, at some point in the game, the like gear caps and AP everything brackets, it starts to have diminishing returns, and you can still do well around like, I don't know, 260, 270 AP, which is very low nowadays. It's like an extra 20 AP out of seasons, and you can still compete very competitively. So I think that's good. And the worst thing that can happen is you have all this gear, but the game is dead, and then that means your gear is worthless and all your time spent is meaningless. So I do support catch-up mechanics in video games, and it's definitely just fun to like meet new people, play the game, learn new things all the time. And so just play at your own pace. Don't compete with other people too much. I definitely support competition in video games, but when you're trying to gear check other people, that's what makes things very like tedious, and it's just like you stress yourself out and then you burn yourself out later on. So definitely one of those things. Play at your own pace, do what you enjoy doing. I definitely understand like playing the meta and trying to min-max everything. That's cool. But when you're gear checking people, it does not work out that well. Trust me when I say that. I've tried it. Next thing we have on our list is gear towards your playstyle. Now, what I mean by that is people generally go to a website or a streamer, watch a video, and they're like, okay, so how do I go about gearing? Now, I would say that in BDO, there aren't too many different ways of like gearing up, but every class could build different. Like, for example, some classes are evasion, some classes are DR. Some people just really like straight out tanky meme builds, and some people just like life skilling. So there's nothing wrong with browsing all the websites and looking up guides or anything. I just think you should build more towards your play style. And like, for example, if you were to ask me what I would get in terms of various things, it might be different than someone who's going full evasion or full tanky build instead. So ultimately, I'm happy to give people tips on just like whatever you want. Like if you are going full tanky, just get the DR gear and evasion stuff. But yeah, there's not really too many different styles and builds in this game, which is pretty good. So it makes it easier for like content creators to make the guides and help you. But mostly figure out what your play style is and more just build towards what your goals are. Like, do you plan on grinding a new spot? That means get more AP. Higher AP means clearing faster. Are you taking a lot of damage in spots? Build your DP up. And so, yeah, basically go from there. And then next thing we have is managing your time and making a schedule in this game. So by schedule, I mean there are events and stuff, so you kind of want to plan around like doing certain things, planning around daily resets and everything. But here's how I would do this in another game. So I play like Final Fantasy and Elder Scrolls Online. Basically, my time scheduled in those games are, when am I going to get together with my friends? When are we going to do the latest dungeons, trials, raids, and all that stuff? In this game, I'm just like, what do I want to do today? Or what materials do I need for whatever I'm doing? So let's say you're life skilling. I spend an hour gathering X material, so I have that for today. And then maybe tomorrow I'll spend another hour doing another material and just gathering things. So plan your time, manage your schedule, and then everything will start like flowing in a circle, and then you kind of have everything set to go. So whatever you think your bottleneck is, if you're a life skiller, just do that for today. And then if you're grinding, maybe try a new spot. That definitely helps you from getting burnt out of the game, and try different things. That's always fun. So I've always told people that you should try everything at least once in this game. But then once you've tried everything, like all the life skills, all the grind spots, try to narrow down what you enjoy doing, because the more efficient you get at one thing, the more mastery and profession, I guess, will get better. And so then you start doing more efficiently, and then you make more money overall. That's just how it works in most things in real life in general. Focus more on one thing to get a higher mastery instead of being a jack of all trades. That's how you make the most money in the game in general. But I'd recommend trying out everything at least once to see what you enjoy doing. So yeah, have a lot of videos on what I do and how to go about doing pretty much every life skill, and videos on different grind spots. We actually have a series throughout the year, and what I plan on doing is trying out every grind spot that's relevant. And we try it in a Marnie realm. That way everyone can get at least the 1 hour of time to grind in peace. And plus just to see what I can do as well, and just show you how to go about the rotation and everything. So overall, it's a cool series. Link in the description to the playlist. And yeah, that's probably the most important thing in this game. Managing your time and making a schedule around what you want to do. So that way you don't just feel like you're playing this game for no reason. If you have a goal in mind every day, that's good. And that's kind of how I play this game. I just set goals and then try to achieve them. So next thing we have is playing multiple characters, or not necessarily playing multiple, but just having multiple characters. So I believe in this game there's like 28, something like that. probably 28 characters. And now I understand that people are like, oh, I just want to play one character or maybe two, and I don't want to play 28. That's perfectly fine, because that's generally what most people do. So the reason why you would have multiple characters is because, one, obviously to play them and, you know, for fun, but two, each character has a different energy and fail stack thing where, like, you can put the fail stacks without spending money on those Nadar bands. So you see over here, this is your energy pool, 549 for me, and this is my active energy. One, try to keep that try not to keep that full too long, because that's just silver going down to drain the more it's full, and just try to, like, use your energy on something. And so the reason why you'd have multiple characters, one, is because each character has their energy at a different, like, it regens at a different rate. If you're logged on to your character, it will regen faster, but if you're not on, it's like one every hour or something. So by having more silver, or like more characters, you have the energy pool. And if you don't know what to do with them, just go to Velia, and then, like, there's that NPC, like Aliston right here. He will basically, you exchange your energy for an energy potion. That energy potion you can sell to the market. That's just a lazy way of making money. If you were very active, you could just, like, gather on multiple characters. That's a lot of money. Or just do something with it. I generally just turn it into energy and then sell it, because there's zero shot I'm gathering on 28 characters, but some people enjoy doing that. So yeah, there's a lot of different reasons for having characters aside from, you know, the fun factor of it and trying them out. Also, you see this number right here, enhancement chance? That's where you can store all your fail stacks. And it's good to have them over there just because you don't have to pay for the Nadar's bands. But one thing I wanted to mention was the reason why I have multiple characters is because I want to leave my characters at different spots. So for example, this one is at Zarka, this one is at Garmoth, this one is at Vel, this one is my Sailor, and so on. You get the point, like Kudum, Nuver. So the reason why is, let's say you have a main character and you're grinding down in Gaifin, for example, but then Nuver spawns, and Nuver is all the way in the middle of the desert. Having a character out at different bosses means you just instant swap instead of bringing your main there. So having your characters parked at different areas is definitely important, because by the time you get to from point A to B, it could be dead, or, you know, it just saves a lot of time. And especially if you plan on doing any ocean content, you definitely want to make sure to do it on different characters, because I thought I could do it on one. You can't. Like, trust me when I say I wanted to do everything on one. Even if you look at all my life skills, a lot of them are guru. And so, yeah, I thought I could do it all in one, but then over the years I learned that just separating them out and having things do different things is more useful, and it saves you a lot of time. So definitely worth doing. Next thing I wanted to talk about over the years is try different things. So we briefly touched on that in another point, but every now and then I understand people have their favorite grind spot or their favorite place to gather, life skill. The best thing you can do is progress in this game, and that means trying out some new spots. So like if you're a grinder, you look at this number right here. So like you look at all these regions and then you look at the AP and DP requirement. We actually have a video talking about this where we looked at every single spot that they listed in the game, and I agree with about like 95% of them, where the AP and DP recommendations by Pearl Abyss themselves is pretty accurate. So I think if you were to, for the most part, look at all of these, you would get an accurate representation of their gear score requirement. The ones that I think are a little bit different are more like the higher end areas, like Crypt of Resting Thoughts. Like 400 DP is like, sure, entry level, but at the same time, even if you are like 500 DP, you could still die pretty easily if you're not paying attention. So it's like some places like Olin's, for example, it doesn't really matter what your DP is. You know the mechanics or you die. Because also some spots are group spots, so you know that weighs in differently on is your group carrying you or are you carrying your group kind of thing. So some spots are more knowing the mechanics more than just eating hits. So I think for the most part it's not inaccurate, but it's just take some of these DP numbers with a grain of salt. So as for life skillers, for example, try different things. And what I mean by that is there are multiple tools you can get. So each thing or material you can gather does something different. For example, butcher knife is for meats. You turn meats into like other foods for cooking. Fluid collecting is for bloods and alchemy. Lumbering is for woods, obviously, and then you turn that into materials for things you might need. So like if you want a boat for the ocean and you want to start sailing and bartering, you need a lot of woods. And so pickaxe or ores, materials, minerals, and everything. And then you they work together in a way of you'll eventually need all of them for a lot of things. But yeah, if you like, I don't know, chopping trees, for example, maybe try fluid collecting on the trees because you could do it on the same thing, but you get two different materials and they work a little bit differently. So just try gathering a lot of different things, and if you don't know what to do with them, sell it on the market. But there are certain materials that you'll learn later on just by playing this game of what you think is important and what not. So yeah, try new grind spots, try gathering at different locations. Maybe you'll like something more than the others. And so, in other words, just play the game. And finally, our last 7th topic of today is learning about workers and nodes. Now, I could talk about this for hours, but just to keep it short, if you are a new player, learning the map is very confusing. Understandably, you look at this for the first time and you're like, okay, I don't know what this means. So basically, if you were to start the game early, these things are nodes, right? Like these little icons. You connect these nodes you see by the line, and if it's a white line or a gray line, that means it's not connected. If it's red and yellow, that means you have the node and the node connection is going on. And each node sometimes has a little inner node where that has items that you can send your workers on, and they bring the material back to the town, which they're actually changing in the upcoming patch. We'll talk about that in another video. But basically, it's passive money by playing the game. And they bring a material back to the town, and then you either use it or sell it and whatnot. But generally, pick the things you think you need or bottlenecks for what you're using. So learn to set up your workers and nodes early on, because I remember for the first few months of this game, I had no idea what that was. And so I just had my contribution points sitting at max the entire time. Generally, you want to use as many of these as you can. Try to keep your left number, your available contribution points, as low as possible, because if they're just sitting in your pool unused, then it's just you're losing money over time. Granted, it's not that much money. Some nodes are, or in general, nodes these days in 2023 are not worth as much as they were 6 years ago when 10 mil was actually a lot of silver. Nowadays, 10 mil is 2 minutes of work or grinding. But anyway, I mean, it's still money. It builds up over time, especially if you keep your game on 24/7. It just adds up over time. So figure that out. I have another video on just how I have everything. But for the most part, just pick things you think you would need in general. So yeah, I had a video is 30 minutes. So just go watch that if you're interested, or just ping me somewhere on Discord and I'll just link the video to you. But anyway, those are the 7 things I thought were pretty interesting to talk about, and I think more on the relevant side of things. And so, yeah, 7 things I've learned in BDO. If you have any other things you want to share with everyone, feel free to leave it in the comments. I definitely have probably hundreds of things I could tell you guys, but the theme was 7 things in 7 years, and I thought that was a cool concept. But with that said, if you guys enjoyed this video, drop a quick like on the video. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. I would love to see you guys come back. I do upload pretty regularly, almost daily, and we do guides and just general gameplay. So for anyone who's a new player, returning player, or just wants to get better at this game, I think my videos will probably help you in one way or the other. So yeah, would love to see you guys come back, and thanks so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.